Exposed, Billionaire's assistant discovers amazing life-changing secret after finding him crying. In the heart of New York City, where dreams flicker alongside the towering skyline, Jen found herself caught in the relentless grind of the corporate machine. At 32, she was the glue that held Ethan Sinclair's chaotic empire together, a billionaire infamous for his icy demeanor. He ruled the boardroom like a king, but the power he wielded could never buy the warmth of family or the solace of understanding. One evening, as the city glittered beneath the setting sun, Jen plowed through her paperwork, wondering what it felt like to be more than a cog in this wheel. Her ears perked as muffled sobs pierced the air, drifting from Ethan's office high above the metropolis. It was a sound so alien coming from the man who commanded fear and respect in equal measure. Fighting the instinct to turn away, she took a deep breath, knocked softly, and pushed the door open. What she saw shattered her perception. Ethan, usually composed and imposing, sat with his head buried in his hands, his shoulders shaking under the weight of tears. It was as if a fortress crumbled, revealing a man haunted by his past. Jen's heart ached. His sorrow spoke to her, each choked breath echoed a longing too profound for wealth to fill. Ethan. Her voice quivered as she stepped inside. He looked up, and for a fleeting moment, his vulnerability unfolded like a wilting flower. The contrast between his polished office and the raw emotion he displayed felt surreal. Jen could see now that behind the facade lay a man wrestling with grief, the ache of estrangement from a father he idolized, now lost to alcoholism. Suddenly, memories from her small Midwestern town flooded her mind. Her father's tired smile as he came home from the factory, exhausted yet determined to provide. She understood this grief. It lingered in the spaces between laughter, in silence thick with unsaid words. The office was suffocating, and all Jen could think was how to help him find the connection he so desperately craved. Maybe you could talk to him, she suggested gently, her heart racing with the weight of her own audacity. Your father, he's more than his mistakes. Ethan's brow furrowed, and she could see the wheels turning as anger, love, and resentment tangled within him. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With each passing day, they ventured deeper into the heart of the matter. Jen became an unlikely bridge, facilitating conversations that faltered over years of hurt. Calls went unreturned, emotions boiled over, and with every clash, the stakes grew higher. Ethan's anger exploded one night, words hurled like daggers toward his father's choices. Yet, amid the turmoil, Jen saw the raw fragility in his eyes. Why did he choose alcohol over me? Ethan's voice cracked, shaking as guilt and rage intertwined. It dawned on Jen that wealth had blinded him to a simple truth: success wasn't measured in dollars but in love, understanding, and confronting one's demons. As silence fell between them in the aftermath, the air heavy with unresolved emotions, Jen felt the weight of their journey looming ahead. Would Ethan find the courage to confront his past, or would the shadows of regret hold him captive? In that moment, they both knew the road to healing had only just begun, and the promise of what lay ahead hung delicately in the balance. A few days passed, and the tension between Ethan and his father felt like an unlit fuse, ready to ignite. Jen stayed close, her heart racing with every heated exchange they attempted. Each time Ethan picked up the phone, she felt as though she were holding her breath. The stakes were real, and this was no longer just about family or money, it was about scarring memories that needed to be confronted. One rainy afternoon, Jen watched as Ethan sank into his office chair, his sharp gaze lost somewhere out the window. The city below was shrouded in gray, mirroring the storm brewing within him. She felt compelled to speak. Ethan, she said softly, her own apprehension threaded through her words. What are you afraid of? The question lingered in the air, heavy with meaning. He turned to her slowly, and she saw a flicker of something: hesitation, maybe even fear. Afraid? He scoffed, but it fell flat, like a mask teetering on the edge of a table. I'm not afraid of anything. But Jen knew better. You're afraid that if you talk to your dad it won't change anything. That maybe you'll be disappointed again. The way his shoulders slumped at her words broke her heart. What if it does change things? He replied quietly, almost as if he were trying to convince himself. What if he's too far gone even for me to reach him? Then at least you'll know you tried, she urged gently, her heart pounding. You deserve some peace, Ethan. He sat in silence, the ticking clock filling the void between them. Jen could sense the inner turmoil raging within him, revealing glimpses of hope tangled with dread. Finally, Ethan ran a hand over his face, a sign of surrender. I don't want to waste another moment. I don't want to regret what could have been. In that moment, something shifted between them. They shared a vulnerability that felt almost sacred. Jen felt her pulse quicken as she realized what was happening. He was starting to lean into the healing, propelled by her encouragement. I'll go with you, she offered. It was a spontaneous declaration born from her own connection to family struggles. We can face this together. He met her gaze, the weight of his burden starting to lift just a little. You really want to? Yeah, I do. They both smiled faintly, the warmth of genuine understanding melting away some of the coldness that had crept in over the years. Days turned into weeks, filled with preparation, tension, and a mix of hope and apprehension. They talked, planned, and even practiced what Ethan might say. The determination in his eyes grew with each passing day, a contrast to the lost man who had cried in front of her not long ago. Then came the day of reckoning. Jen stood by Ethan at the doorway of his father's modest apartment. The rain had stopped, but the air hung thick with unspoken words. Are you ready? She asked, her hand resting on his arm. He exhaled sharply, nodding slowly. The universe felt poised, each second stretching into eternity. Just as he raised his hand to knock, the door swung open abruptly. Standing there was a man who resembled Ethan but wore time's marks in deeper lines and weary eyes. Ethan, his father's voice was both a plea and a question. In that breath, with the past closing in and redemption just within reach, Ethan hesitated. Would he step through the threshold, or would fear pull him back? The moment felt electric, and a simple knock turned into a complex choice that could either sever or mend their fractured bond. Jen's heart raced as she sensed the gravity of the moment. Everything hung in the balance. Would love finally find a way through the pain, or would the door to reconciliation close before it could ever fully open? Dad, Ethan whispered, and time seemed to hold its breath. Ethan stood frozen in the frame of the door, the weight of the world pressing against his chest. Jen could feel her own heart pounding alongside his, each beat echoing the nervous energy that wrapped around them like an invisible tether. The man before him, older and worn, seemed so small in contrast to the towering walls that had once confined their relationship. Ethan, it's been a long time, his father murmured, and the gravel in his voice hinted at roads walked alone, roads that had led them further apart. The old man's eyes glinted with unshed tears, an indication of old regrets that hung heavily around them both. Ethan shifted uncomfortably, swallowing hard. The years had created a canyon between them, shaped by unspoken words and unresolved grief. Yeah, it has, he replied, his voice barely a whisper, fear and anger swirling within. I didn't think you'd even want to see me. Of course I do, his father answered quickly, stepping back slightly as if inviting Ethan into the small, cluttered space. I've missed you. I didn't he paused, struggling for words. I didn't know how to reach you. I thought I was doing the right thing. In that quiet admission, Jen watched as the facade began to crack. Ethan's eyes flickered with the kind of vulnerabilities that few ever got to witness. Was it hope? Pain? A desperate desire to bridge the divide? Jen felt herself holding her breath, praying Ethan wouldn't flinch, that he wouldn't pull away and retreat into the shell of unresolved hurt that had never quite gone away. Maybe we should talk, she whispered lightly, giving him the gentle nudge he might need. Ethan hesitated again, but this time he took a small step forward. can we talk about everything? About how I never understood why you left. The question lay between them, raw like an open wound, but filled with the hope of healing. His father seemed taken aback, the guilt etched on his face even deeper now. He opened his mouth to respond, but struggled with what to say. The moment stretched on, a fragile string threatening to snap, until finally he sighed deeply. You're right. We need to talk. As they moved inside, Jen took a slow, steady breath, letting her presence fill the air with a comforting aura. The apartment bore witness to years of separation, walls plastered with faded memories, shadows of laughter echoed back at them, filled in with silence. Ethan and his father sat across from each other, the distance between them still palpable but less daunting. Jen positioned herself slightly behind Ethan, offering him strength without overshadowing his moment. I didn't want to hurt you, his father began, his voice breaking, tearing at the wall of years. But I was lost myself. I thought leaving would protect you from my failures. Ethan's expression shifted, processing the words. A part of him ached at the realization that his father had struggled too, that maybe they were dancing around the same pain for far too long. But you didn't protect me, Dad. You left me feeling like I wasn't worth fighting for. The truth hung heavily, yet in its weight, there was a strange release like taking a deep breath after being underwater for too long. What was bound to be a confrontation had become something entirely different, a chance to rewrite their story. As they navigated through memories, one painful truth led to another, the air crackled with vulnerability. Jen felt pride swelling within her for Ethan as he confronted his father, showing the courage it took to peel away the layers of hurt, but just as Ethan was about to break through to a revelation, the door slammed shut, echoing through the room. A shadow crossed the apartment. Someone was here. As the figure emerged from outside, Jen's heart raced anew. The moment of connection was about to shift again. Who interrupted such an important conversation? What did they want? Ethan's father froze, his face draining of color. What are they doing here? He murmured under his breath, urgency rising with every second. The tension in the room thickened, the air electric once more. Would this be a turning point, or would it threaten to shatter everything? Jen could only hold her breath and wonder what would come next. Ethan's father stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the wooden floor. Fear flickered in his eyes, a glance of panic that made Jen's stomach twist. Whatever awaited them outside that door wasn't just a visitor, it was a ghost from the past. Stay here, Ethan, his father instructed, though the edge in his tone suggested a desperation neither Ethan nor Jen could ignore. Dad, Ethan started, but the plea was swallowed by the heavy thud of footsteps approaching. The door creaked open, and a familiar face emerged. Miriam. Ethan's voice was incredulous. He hadn't seen her in years. Her wide eyes darted between him and his father, her breath hitching as she registered the tension. Ethan, she began, but the words trailed off as a weighty silence filled the room. Time had changed them both, but the memories raced back like an old film playing at lightning speed. They had once shared dreams, laughter, moments that felt as crucial as air. The air grew thick with uncertainty as Ethan's father stepped forward, his expression softening for just a moment. What are you doing here? I thought you'd moved away. A shiver of unease rushed through Jen, not due to Miriam's arrival but from the way Ethan's father suddenly became a flickering flame of old feuds and hidden truths. Miriam didn't answer immediately, she merely shook her head, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. A mixture of pain and love coursed between them like electricity. Ethan, I came to find you, she said finally, her voice breaking quietly. There is something you need to know. About your family, about everything. Ethan looked from his father back to Miriam, confusion flooding his senses. What do you mean? What is going on? There was a raw urgency in his tone, a need for clarity that made Jen's heart ache. It's not the right time, his father interjected, desperation creeping into his voice. You don't need to hear this now. Suddenly, Jen realized the room felt like a chessboard, everyone moving in anticipation of a checkmate that could shatter lives. She stepped forward, feeling a surge of protectiveness for Ethan. No, let her speak, she urged, feeling every moment stretch with potential disaster. If there is something to be said, maybe it's time you heard it. Ethan turned to Jen, gratitude mingling with fear in his eyes. What do you know, Miriam? He prompted, voice firm despite the tremors of uncertainty. Miriam swallowed hard, glancing at Ethan's father whose expression now swirled with a mixture of anger and dread. After you left, things unraveled more than you know. I've tried to protect you from the truth for too long, Ethan. But it's time you understand the whole story. The reason your father left wasn't just to protect you. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. What do you mean? Jen felt the adrenaline coursing through her veins, squeezing her hand into a tight fist. She understood that this wasn't just about Ethan's father anymore. It was a revelation that could tear the entire family apart. As Miriam gathered her thoughts, the ticking clock in the background seemed to amplify the urgency of the moment. Jen glanced at Ethan, seeing the struggle in his eyes, a mixture of hope for answers yet fear of what those answers might reveal. Ethan, there's a reason you need to know. Your life, your past, it's connected to something bigger. More dangerous. The room was charged now, every second hanging on the edge, waiting for the truth to tumble out. Would it heal or destroy? The door creaked again, a reminder that they weren't alone in this. What awaited them, what lay buried in the past? As Miriam took a deep breath, Jen's heart raced. This was it, the moment that would change everything. But would Ethan be ready to accept it, no matter the cost? Miriam's voice trembled as she pushed forward through the tension in the room. Ethan, it's about your mother and the choices she made. Ethan's eyes widened, and every word felt like a puncture in his soul. My mother? What about her? She's been gone for years, we don't talk about her. Miriam took a step closer, forcing Ethan to meet her gaze. That's exactly it. You need to understand why she left us, why she had to disappear. It's not just about running away. Ethan's father shifted uncomfortably. The silence stretched, heavy and suffocating, as if every breath could unleash a tidal wave of emotions. Jen felt a wild mix of empathy for Ethan and her own fears of what the truth might reveal. Dad, please, Ethan pleaded. If there's something you've kept from me, I deserve to know. His voice shook, a blend of determination and fear. Ethan, I promised her, his father started, but Miriam cut him off, her determination rising. The promise wasn't just to her, Ethan. It was a threat. There were things happening, things connected to your mother. It was never just about her leaving. Jen's stomach tightened. Each revelation felt like a crack forming in the stone wall of Ethan's reality. She watched him struggle, his heart racing like a train about to derail. Tell me. Ethan's voice rose, raw and urgent. I can handle it. Ethan, you have no idea what you're asking for, his father warned softly, but the defiance in Ethan's eyes was unmistakable. Miriam continued, your mother was involved in something larger than you can imagine. She uncovered secrets that put her life at risk. When she left, it wasn't out of choice, it was to protect you. The impact of Miriam's words hung in the air like a lead balloon. The weight of the truth threatened to crush everything Ethan thought he knew. What kind of secrets? Miriam hesitated, shadows flickering across her face. She found out things about our community, about people we trusted. She was working with others, trying to expose corruption. People began to notice, and she had to go. Ethan's eyes darted between Miriam and his father, his mind reeling. So, she left to protect me. But then why didn't you ever tell me? Because, his father said, his voice thick with emotion, I thought I could keep you safe by keeping the truth buried. I didn't want to drag you into this darkness. Darkness. The word lingered, resonating in every corner of the room. Jen felt the chill of fear touch her spine. The reality of a hidden world, one of danger and betrayal, closed in around them. Miriam, what do we do now? Ethan asked, his voice now steadier, as if finding resolve amid the chaos. Miriam took a deep breath, her own eyes glistening. We uncover the truth together. But we need to be careful. It's not just about your past anymore, it's about the present, and whoever is involved in this may not have stopped looking for your mother. Jen felt the weight of Miriam's words settle heavily on her. The threat of danger loomed. A sense of urgency ignited within her. Are you ready for this, Ethan? What we're about to uncover could change everything, Miriam pressed, her voice a mix of hope and fear. Ethan locked eyes with Jen, seeking her reassurance. She stepped closer, squeezing his hand. We'll face it together, she said, her heart pounding. But would that be enough? As they stood on the brink of a revelation that could unearth long-buried secrets, a single thought crept into Jen's mind. What if, in seeking the truth, they unearthed something darker than they could ever imagine? The tension crackled, setting the stage for a journey into the unknown. What awaited them as they delved deeper into Ethan's shadowy legacy? Ethan took a deep breath, feeling the air grow thick with unresolved tension. What do we do first? His voice steadied, masking the whirlpool of emotions inside him. Miriam glanced at his father, as if sensing his hesitation. We need to start with the people your mother was connected to. She left behind clues, things she was working on before she disappeared. We have to find out who was helping her. Clues? Ethan asked, his pulse quickening. Where do we look? Her old office, his father murmured. Maybe there is something there, something I didn't have the courage to find. The idea sent a jolt of adrenaline through Ethan. This was the first step into a world that could answer questions he had buried. We have to go now, he insisted. Ethan, wait, Jen interjected, biting her lip. What if it's dangerous? We don't know how these people will react to us poking around. He turned to her, a pleading look in his eyes. But if we don't act, how can we ever understand? This is about my mother, it's about my life. Jen's heart pounded. She wanted to support him, to stand by him. You're right, but we need a plan. We can't just walk into a storm. Then let us gather what we know first, Miriam offered, her voice firm. We need to be strategic. If Ethan's mother had enemies, we can't afford to be careless. Ethan nodded, appreciating her calmness. Okay, but we need to hurry. I feel like we're running out of time. As they headed to Ethan's mother's old office, the familiar streets looked foreign, now filled with shadows and whispers that spoke of secrets long kept. Each step felt heavy, as if the ground himself bore witness to the weight of their decision. Arriving at the building, Ethan hesitated. What if this was a mistake? It's your truth, Ethan, Jen reminded him. No matter how hard it is, you deserve to know. With a flick of the keys, the door creaked open. The air was stale, holding the echoes of a past that felt so distant yet so tangible. Papers scattered on the desk beckoned like ghosts, stories waiting to be told. Miriam turned on the light and gasped softly. This place hasn't changed. Look. Ethan stepped inside, feeling the walls seep memories, laughter, late-night work sessions, and the warmth of a mother's love. He hesitated, his heart pounding. Ethan. Jen's voice broke through his reverie. What do you want to search for first? He moved to the desk, running his fingers over the clutter. Anything. A notebook, document something she left behind. Miriam rifled through drawers. We need to be quick. We don't know who else could come back here. Just then, Ethan found a small, weathered box tucked away in the corner. The lock was rusty but beckoned him closer. What is this? Miriam approached, her eyes wide with anticipation. That could be important. Open it. Ethan swallowed hard, hesitating for just a moment before forcing the lid open. Inside lay a collection of old letters, each carefully folded. They were yellowing, marked with time. Beneath them rested a small pendant, a delicate piece that sparkled with hidden stories. His eyes widened in disbelief. What is this? He picked up the pendant, feeling its weight both physically and emotionally. Miriam peered closely, her voice barely above a whisper. This belonged to her, and these letters. She started unfolding one carefully, then a noise echoed from outside, abrupt and jarring. Heavy footsteps approached. The weight of fear crashed upon them, freezing Ethan in place. "Someone's coming," Jen hissed, her eyes darting to the door. Panic surged through Ethan's veins. They had come too far to be caught now. "We have to hide." With adrenaline surging, they scrambled, hoping that what they were about to uncover didn't lead to their doom. What awaited them on the other side of the door? Would the truth be worth the danger they now faced? Ethan's heart raced as he darted behind a filing cabinet, the dust coating it, tickling his nose. Jen squeezed herself into the narrow space beside him, her eyes wide, silently pleading for reassurance. Miriam managed to slip under the desk, where a tangle of old cables and forgotten items shrouded her lightly. The footsteps grew louder, and Ethan's breath quickened, mingling with the dense silence around them. Each thud resonated through the floor, threatening to put an end to their search before it even began. "Who could it be?" Ethan whispered, his voice shaking. "Just stay quiet," Jen replied, her eyes darting between the door and Ethan. "Maybe they'll just walk by." Ethan peeked through the small gap in the cabinet, his mind racing with possibilities. Would it be someone looking for his mother? Someone who could turn the entire world upside down. And then it hit him, the letters and the pendant in his pocket. What if they were important to the person now entering? The door creaked open, and a tall figure stepped inside. It was a man, dressed sharply in a tailored suit that screamed authority. Ethan's pulse quickened further as he recognized him. It was one of the investors his mother had worked with, a name that rang in his head like an alarm bell: Mr. Oswald. "What are you doing here?" Mr. Oswald's voice cut sharply through the room, making the other two flinch. "I can't believe it's still unlocked. She should have never left these files behind." He began to move towards the desk, rifling through papers. Ethan's insides twisted with fear and urgency. What does he mean? "Files?" Jen lowered her voice to a whisper. "He could know something about your mom." Ethan shifted just enough to catch a glimpse of Mr. Oswald, who had now lifted the box from the desk. His brow furrowed, and he opened it, carefully inspecting the letters, eyes narrowing at the sight of the pendant. A wave of anger washed over Ethan. "That doesn't belong to you." He breathed angrily, ready to jump out of hiding, but Jen kept him pressed back. "Wait, just wait," she urged softly. Oswald flipped through the letters, his expression unreadable. "She thought she could keep this from me. The secrets they hold." His voice hardened, growing darker as he read between the lines. "If anyone discovers this, what does he know?" Ethan wondered aloud, his grip tightening on the edge of the cabinet. What did Mom do that was so dangerous? Questions spiraled in Ethan's mind as he leaned in closer to hear more. Oswald held the pendant up, allowing it to catch the light, revealing the delicate engravings. "This is worth more than she realized. It holds power. She never should have come back to this, it was too risky." "Power?" Jen whispered, glancing at Ethan with wide eyes. "What does that mean?" Before Ethan could respond, Oswald pocketed the letters and pendant, his jaw set in determination. "I can't let it fall into the wrong hands," he muttered, turning towards the door. Ethan's breath hitched. "We have to follow him," he said suddenly. "He knows something. If he leaves, we might lose our chance." "Are you out of your mind?" Jen gasped. "We don't even know what he is planning to do." But something inside Ethan urged him forward. Every instinct screamed that this was their moment, that this was the doorway to uncovering who his mother had become, what she was protecting. As Oswald stepped out, Ethan glanced at Jen, and Miriam crawled out from her hiding place, her eyes lit with resolve. "We can't lose him," Miriam insisted, and they nodded in unison. They rushed to the exit as quietly as they could, hearts pounding, the thrill of the chase propelling them forward. "Wait," Jen hissed. "What if he sees us?" Then we run, Ethan shot back, adrenaline surging through his veins. What lay ahead was unknown, but one thing was clear, the truth was waiting just around the corner, and they were about to dive headfirst into the storm. Would the answers help them? Or would the truth present an unimaginable danger? They slipped through the door just as it closed behind Oswald, their hearts racing, breaths quickening. The hallway was dimly lit, shadows stretching across the walls. Ethan could hear the faint echo of the man's footsteps growing fainter. "Come on," he whispered urgently, feeling every nerve in his body hum with anticipation. Jen and Miriam followed closely, their footsteps barely making a sound against the worn floor tiles. The air was thick with tension, and Ethan felt a mix of fear and exhilaration wash over him. They were on a mission now, a quest that could reveal secrets about his mother that he had never known. They turned the corner, their eyes scanning the corridor ahead. Oswald was now at the far end, pausing to check out a door, his back turned to the trio. "Do you think he suspects us?" Miriam whispered, her voice barely above a breath. "I hope not," Jen replied, her eyes wide. "If he does, we're in real trouble." Ethan pressed forward, urgency guiding him. "Let us see where he is going, maybe he'll lead us to something important." Slowly, they crept closer. Each step felt like a lifetime. Finally, they reached the corner where Oswald stood, tapping impatiently on the door. "Please, just tell me you found it," he muttered under his breath, too low for Ethan to make out the rest. Then the door creaked open, revealing an older woman with a worried expression. She looked at Oswald with a mix of fear and resolve. "I'm not sure it's wise to pursue this, Robert," she said softly. "You don't know who else is involved." Ethan's ears perked up. Who was this woman? What did she mean? He peeked around the corner, clutching the wall for support as curiosity clouded his judgment. From where he stood, he could see the woman's expression shift from concern to fury. "Don't try to stop me," Oswald snapped, his aura shifting dangerously. "I'll take the risks needed to protect my interests. This isn't just about her anymore." Ethan's insides twisted. Protecting his interests. What could that mean? "What do you want?" the woman asked, her voice trembling but firm. "You know this is dangerous." "Not as dangerous as letting this fall into the wrong hands," Oswald shot back. "I've made sacrifices, and it's time we claim what's rightfully ours." Ethan's heart sank. Sacrifices? They were all in deep, much deeper than he realized. He turned back to Jen and Miriam, anxiety curling in his stomach. "They're talking about something big," he whispered urgently. "We need to hear more." Just then, the woman's eyes flicked toward the hallway. "We're not alone here," she warned, her voice sharp. Ethan's breath caught. It was too late to turn back now. They had to know what was happening. "Ethan, we should go," Jen pressed, pulling at his arm. "I don't like this." "No," he said, his voice low but resolute. "I need to find out what they're talking about, what my mom got involved in." As the woman shifted her stance, Ethan remained frozen in place, heart pounding in his chest. If he didn't move now, they might miss their chance to learn the truth. Suddenly, Oswald turned, locking eyes with Ethan, realization flooding through the air. "You!" he thundered, recognition dawning. Ethan's mind raced as he sensed danger closing in, adrenaline surged through his veins, but he was out of time. Would he make a run for it? Or face the truth that had been closing in on him from the shadows? Oswald's face twisted with anger and something else, fear. Behind him, Jen and Miriam held their breath as the moment hung in the air. Ethan took a step forward, determination igniting within him. "You don't have to do this," he said softly, testing the waters. "Just tell me what you know about my mother." But before he could say more, the unexpected warmth of the pendant in his pocket pulsed against his skin, as if urging him on. What secrets would be revealed? And how far was he willing to go to uncover them? The tension crackled in the air like static. Ethan stared into Oswald's eyes, searching for any hint of softness, of humanity beneath the anger. But he saw only fury and desperation. "You shouldn't be here," Oswald growled, his voice like ice. "You have no idea what you're messing with." Ethan swallowed hard, his pulse racing. What did he know? And why was it dangerous? He could feel Jen and Miriam's unease. Their eyes darted from Ethan to Oswald, as if weighing their next move. "Please," Ethan urged, taking another cautious step forward. "Just tell me what you know about my mother. I need to understand." Oswald's body stiffened. For a moment, his mask of aggression faltered, revealing something vulnerable beneath. Then, in an instant, it was gone. "Your mother was caught in a web of secrets, dark ones. You don't want to uncover them. That's not for you to decide," Ethan shot back, surprising even himself with his confidence. "I deserve to know." "Ethan," Miriam whispered, gripping his arm tighter. "This isn't worth it. We need to leave." But her words barely registered as he turned his focus to the older woman beside Oswald, seeking an ally. "Help me. I know she's connected to something bigger." The woman hesitated, her gaze flickering between Ethan and Oswald. "This is about more than just your mother. The people involved, they don't play games. You think you're ready for this?" Ethan's heart thundered in his chest. What had his mother done that could haunt him like this? "I'm ready to face the truth," he replied, his voice steady despite the fear coiling in his gut. Oswald let out a bitter laugh. "You think you're so brave, but bravery can lead you to a grave. You have no idea what's at stake." "What do you mean?" Ethan demanded, feeling the walls of his world shifting. But before Oswald could answer, a loud crash echoed down the hall, causing everyone to jump. The sound came from behind them, a sudden rush of footsteps and urgent whispers. "Someone's coming," the older woman warned, her face paling. "We need to go now." Ethan's mind raced as panic surged. He couldn't leave without answers. "Wait. What about my mom? What is going on?" "Enough." Oswald barked, his voice rising in a commanding tone. "You need to choose. Run, or stay and face the consequences." Ethan felt the weight of that choice pressing down on him like a leaden anchor. But something inside him nagged at the edges of his mind, an instinct urging him to dig deeper. "I want to run," he shouted, the determination in his voice surprising even him. "If you know something, then tell me." Suddenly, the older woman stepped forward, her expression shifting from fear to fierce resolve. "Enough games, Oswald. The boy deserves the truth." Oswald stiffened but didn't speak. Silence fell heavy between them, an unspoken battle of wills. "Tell him," she insisted, her voice rising with urgency. "You owe him that much at least." In that charged moment, Ethan dared to hope. Maybe they would finally reveal the truth that had eluded him for so long. Before Oswald could respond, the footsteps grew closer. Their eyes shifted toward the hallway, the air thick with the aroma of impending chaos. Ethan's heart raced. Would he finally learn what really happened to his mother, or was he about to plunge deeper into a darkness he couldn't escape? He took a deep breath, readying himself for whatever revelation awaited him. Truth hung in the air, ripe for the picking. But would it lead to salvation or doom? As the footsteps thundered nearer, time seemed to stretch in front of Ethan like a taut wire ready to snap. The corridor felt electric, each sound ricocheting off the walls, ringing with urgency. Oswald's face twisted in frustration, while the older woman glanced at him, terror radiating from her. "You really have no idea what you're getting into," Oswald snapped, his eyes darting to the door, panic setting in. Ethan stepped closer, adrenaline pumping through his veins. "Just tell me what is going on. Why was my mother involved?" The older woman's gaze softened as she recognized the ferocity of his need. "Your mother, Ethan," she hesitated, weighing her words carefully. "She found something, a secret that went far beyond what most people could comprehend. She wanted to reveal corruption within a powerful circle, but it came with dangers that put her and you in harm's way. The door creaked open, more footsteps approaching. "There isn't time," Oswald shouted, breaking the tension. "You can't possibly understand the repercussions of this knowledge." "Then make me understand," Ethan challenged, anger surging like a wave. Oswald and the woman exchanged a meaningful glance. "Your mother uncovered practices that could unravel lives, a conspiracy that reached the highest echelons of power," the woman finally said, her voice urgent but steady. "They'll come for anyone who threatens to expose them." A jolt of recognition coursed through Ethan. "Is this why she disappeared? To protect me?" "Yes," she confirmed, her eyes wide. "But the deeper she dug, the more dangerous it became. They wanted to silence her. She left so you could have a chance when she didn't believe she could give you otherwise." With a sudden tumult, a figure barreled into the hallway, and the door swung wide open. It was a pair of men in dark suits, their expressions grim and menacing. "We know you're here," the lead man declared, scanning the room. Ethan's heart dropped. The reality of danger closed in like a vice grip. "We need to go," he shouted at Jen and Miriam, adrenaline propelling him into action. "Run," the older woman urged, her hands raising as if in surrender to the inevitable. "You must escape while you can. Find the truth wherever it leads you." Just as Ethan started to move, Oswald seized his arm. "Listen to me," he hissed, a manic urgency flashing in his eyes. "You're not ready for what you may uncover. There's more at stake than you can fathom." Ethan locked eyes with him, his resolve hardening. "No. I'm done running. I need the truth. I can handle it." With that, he broke free from Oswald's grip and sprinted down the corridor, Jen and Miriam right behind him. Panic surged as footsteps thundered in pursuit. Every instinct screamed for him to keep moving, to push forward into the unknown. "Where do we go?" Jen gasped, urgency coloring her voice. "Downstairs." Miriam pointed to a stairwell at the end of the hallway. "We'll find a way out there." Together, they bolted toward it, their breath pounding in rhythm with their heartbeats, a collision of fear and adrenaline propelling them to the exit. As they burst through the door, a door slam echoed behind them. The pressure of the unknown loomed above them like a thundercloud, dark, surreal, and electric. Ethan felt a surge of determination. "We need to find her old allies, the people she was working with. They'll know what she was up against." The streets outside were alive with the vibrancy of New York, but the weight of their mission darkened everything around them. He could sense that the world they once knew had forever changed. Their path forward would mean uncovering truths many had tried to bury. They slipped into the alleyway, breaths heavy and glistening with resolve. The truth was out there, waiting to be unraveled, and with it, the chance for redemption, not just for Ethan's mother but for them all. They might have activated the time bomb of danger, yet they now held the key to uncovering the legacy hidden beneath shadows. Together, he whispered, squeezing Jen's hand, gathering strength from their bond. "We'll face whatever comes next." He glanced at them, three souls ready to battle the darkness, their hearts pounding with hope, not only for answers but for the family he always yearned for. This was his moment. A single thought echoed in the back of his mind: whatever awaited them, together they would rise. The truth would set them free, or it would bind them tighter. But they were stepping into the light, one step closer to healing, one step closer to justice, and maybe, just maybe, one step closer to finding the love they'd all been seeking. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. It makes a difference and shows your support. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending below. I need to hear from you. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.